Ich hatte einen Kameraden. From the old German war song, Ich hatte einen Kameraden. I had a comrade, or the good comrade, played during Germany's National Day of Mourning ceremonies. Hey folks, welcome to the Battles of the First World War podcast. This is a first. In 10 years of podcasting, I have never had the time to write or record anything while on one of my trips to the old front line in France and Belgium. But in a sign that I'm slowly slowing down, I'm making time for this. Also, as I've said before, I greatly enjoy writing. When I have something in my head already written out, it stays there until I can get it out. So, this little episode idea came to me just 2 days after I arrived in France. And as of this writing, I am still here. This is being recorded through my laptop in an Airbnb in Saint-Quentin, so I can do little about the sound quality this time. Please bear with me. To begin, it takes time and multiple visits to really get to know a place. We spoke of this during the tour this summer. Visiting a museum or a historical place for the first time gives you an introduction to it. It's your visits after that that really start to show you what the place holds and what it is about. This was definitely something I experienced here in France this year. I got to know places really well, and I learned so much more that I had no idea I was missing. On my first Sunday in France, I slept in late. This year I felt that jet lag. Usually I land in Europe in the morning and then power through the whole day until I collapse in the evening. The next morning, I'm rested and on French time. This year didn't work out like that, so on that first Sunday, I slept until mid-morning, way later than I usually do. Because of that, I decided to keep my plans for the day simple. On the agenda for that fine sunny day was visiting the German military cemetery in Liny-devant-Dun, down the road from where I was staying in Dun-sur-Meuse. Liny-devant-Dun means Liny before Dun, and helps distinguish this village from any other Lynys that may exist out there. In 2019, the village had 189 residents, very much reduced from the 1840s, when nearly 700 souls lived there. Liny is one of those timeless and incredibly ancient villages that you find throughout Europe. It apparently got its start when the Romans set up 2 camps nearby. In the Middle Ages, there was a leper colony here, and the devastating 30 Years' War, with a dose of plague thrown in for extra misery, wreaked havoc on Liny in the 1600s. Local quarries helped Liny recover economically, and 2 brush factories provided important income to the residents. The last of the brush factories closed a couple of years after World War II. Doubtless today, many of the younger residents work down in the Verdun area or up north in Stenay. Others still continue the agricultural work that has gone on for centuries. Cattle raising for beef and milk products, and grains for cattle feed and human consumption. During the First World War, Liny-devant-Dun was under German occupation for most of the war, and it was liberated by U.S. 5th Division doughboys on November 5th, 1918. Like most German cemeteries in France, the cemetery in Ligny is well out of sight of the locals as per post-war policy, sitting on a hill above the village. From the moment I saw it as I came up the road, it struck me as a very moving monument to the fallen within. As I parked next to it and walked around to its entrance, that feeling only grew. As you come up the road to the cemetery, you see a small copse of trees, which is the typical identifier that you are coming up on a German Soldatenfriedhof. Under the first trees, you see a squat stone building made of red Vosges sandstone, and it is through here that you must enter. Walking across the grass from the side where I parked, I stepped onto the stone path leading to the light stone-framed doorway. Above the doorway, a very German eagle stands watch, facing to the left as its claws grip an iron cross. Behind the eagle, slim red bricks fan out in the shape of sunbeams. The sign to the left of the doorway states Deutscher Soldatenfriedhof, 1914 through 1918, Liny-devant-Dun, Cimetière Militaire Allemand. Everything in a military cemetery is done with meaning and for effect. That Sunday afternoon, I instantly felt what the architecture was trying to convey. The black iron gate, wrought in the same style as in other German cemeteries, opens smoothly but heavily. You must make an effort to enter, and you will remember things that take effort. It takes effort to face your grief. Through the doorway, you can see that you will be stepping into an open, red sandstone courtyard with the green field of the cemetery beyond the stone pillars on the far side. I stepped through the doorway and into the courtyard. Above me was the open blue sky of a summer afternoon in France, and I was reminded of the inner courtyards of Roman villas. Everything was in red sandstone. The floor of the courtyard, the pillars, and the heraldic crest placed at the top of the two middle pillars on each side. The courtyard felt close and heavy, despite its ceiling being the sky, just like the death of a loved one would feel. Stepping into the middle of the enclosed square, I saw the black doorway of the memorial room to the left. Shining my phone's flashlight through the bars of the black iron door there, I could see the blank wooden paneling of the room's walls. This was a room meant for meditation and reflection. Turning around to the space behind me, I was struck by a woman's pained marble face, staring at me with sightless eyes. This is The Mourner, made by the sculptor Anton Riepel. Facing out to the cemetery proper, you must walk through the stone pillars before stepping beyond and into another small courtyard. There is this heaviness in the stone building, as if you must suffer and feel heavy grief before stepping through into the green field beyond. As if peace comes with a price. The symbolism of the place is unmistakable. The courtyard beyond the pillars is open to the sun and bordered by a low sandstone wall, wild bushes growing on top of it. The courtyard is divided into 8 squares, 4 on each side of a central stone path to the gate in the opposite wall. In each square there is a circle of stones in the floor. Against the wall of the building now behind you, on either side of you, there is a bench facing the field of stones up ahead. No doubt these benches are for contemplation, perhaps even for those who may have been overwhelmed at seeing the final resting place of their father, husband, brother, son, or even lover. black gate in the middle of the opposite wall leads to 3 small steps up into the graves beyond. There are 449 German soldiers buried here under slate crosses, most from the time of the Battle of Verdun, when Ligny itself became one mass casualty evacuation point. Most of the men came from the 16th Army Corps out of the Rhineland, 16th Army Corps. But there are Prussians, Silesians, Pomeranians, Brandenburgers, Westphalians, Hessians, Badeners, and Alsatians also buried here. There are a few late 1918 headstones indicating these were casualties of the American Meuse-Argonne offensive. There is no Kameradengraben in this cemetery, no mass grave. I walked among the graves in the summer air. Around and above me the linden trees buzzed with thousands of bees who paid me no mind. It was believed the souls of German warriors of old would ascend to heaven between the trees. The grass was left tall and wild in some seemingly random patches. I figured these were for pollinators to get to the wildflowers growing in them. The slate-gray ranks of headstones amongst the wild grasses had a melancholy beauty to it. Standing there amongst those fallen men, these former enemies, I could understand the feeling of bittersweet lightness after coming out of the stone building. This cemetery was the grieving process shaped in stone, iron, wood, and earth. For the first time, I was really able to tune in to what was intended in the presentation and layout of the cemetery, to what the architects and builders had intended to convey with their works. I felt the grief that the place held, obvious in its headstones and the dead buried beneath them, but also in a heavier sense. The grief was as heavy as the stones that made up the entrance building. In researching for this episode, I came across the song The Good Comrade, which I knew of by another name, Ich hatte einen Kameraden. The old German war song, Ich hatte einen Kameraden, I had a comrade, or The Good Comrade, is played without lyrics on Germany's National Day of Mourning, which is held 2 Sundays before the beginning of Advent. The melody today is part of official commemoration ceremonies held on the day of mourning. The lyrics describe the bond between 2 soldiers, one of whom falls. I had a comrade. In battle he was my comrade. None better I have had. The drum called us to fight. He was always on my right, in step through good and bad. A bullet it flew towards us, for him or meant for me. His life from mine it tore, at my feet a piece of gore, as if a part of me. His hand reached up to hold mine. I must reload my gun. My friend, I cannot ease your pain. In life eternal we'll meet again, and walk once more as one. Translated by Frank Peterson. This translation has the more militaristic third verse, which, to me, holds more to the true sense and meaning of the soldier's life. Yes, honor and camaraderie, but at the heart of it, theirs remained a very harsh task. To me, you don't need to be a soldier to understand the special bond mentioned in the song. You can have this same bond with your spouse, your best friend, your sibling whom you're close with. And the way the lyrics say a piece of the speaker was torn out of him as well when the bullet hit his friend, well, love someone enough and you will understand that feeling as well. Speaking one's grief is an important step in acknowledging it and beginning the process of working through it. It turns out that Ligny Cemetery was built as the standard for how all German cemeteries would be built in the interwar period. The architect who designed the space was Robert Tischler, the ardent Nazi who also designed the Langemark Cemetery in Flanders and Belgium. There were a lot of negotiations with French authorities regarding the establishment of the permanent cemetery at Liny. The building had to be a certain size, and the symbols had to be carefully vetted by the French to remove any militaristic references. By the time Liny was completed, the world was in the grip of a Great Depression, and so funds for other cemeteries quickly dried up. Interestingly, that Robert Tischler would be called back to serve in the 1950s and 1960s in the Volksbund Deutsche Kriegsgräberversorge, or in shorter form, the Volksbund, which is the German War Graves Commission that cares for these cemeteries. I'm guessing Tischler was likely the most experienced guy around designing war cemeteries, so his checkered past was somehow dealt with. Above are just some of the thoughts and feelings I had visiting just one cemetery for an hour or so one afternoon, and it has stayed with me since, despite so many incredible adventures I've had over here every single day since I've arrived. Folks, travel is soul replenishing, and I heartily recommend it. Questions, comments, or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact me at verdunpodcast@gmail.com. Get at me on Twitter at WW1podcast. Check out the BFWWP website, firstworldwarpodcast.com, for some photos, and check out the Battles of the First World War podcast page on the Facebook. Thank you so much for listening. Talk to you again soon. Take care.